right, so we are here at Mountain West Media Days here with one of the new additions to the Mountain West head coaching tree in head coach Tim Polasek of North Dakota State and the Bison. Welcome in, Coach. How is your first Mountain West Media Days treating you?
It's been excellent. I mean, some of the things that are required to do as head coach, you kind of got to do them. I think moving forward, we'll look at this like you get to do it, and this is exciting. All first class, the Mountain West people, our leadership with Gloria. This has been just a first class operation. So really good. It's good to be around the head coaches a little bit and just kind of get a pulse. All of it really positive.
For sure. All right, so first question. It's been a long time coming, but the Bison are finally moving up to the FBS. From your perspective, why was this the right time to make the leap, and should fans keep their expectations at that championship level that it's always been?
Yeah, well, the fans should keep their expectations for us at the level it's always been. And that's kind of twofold, right? That's energy, that's passion, that's enthusiasm for it. But it's also, there's going to be a certain level of support that's needed, and North Dakota State's always gotten that. Um, I think timing wise, it's really interesting. When we get to 2029 and 30, and some of this college football playoff conversation continues with expansion or not. Maybe there's more realignment. I felt personally, this is me personal, nothing to do with our administration or anything. I think it's good to be in the FBS.
Yeah.
And it's good to be in the Mountain West Conference with an established brand, an established competitive group of people in league that are committed to wanting to be the best we can be. And to be involved in that is going to give you a chance to continue to move forward. Whereas if you're not involved, you could get left behind.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of either you got to get on the ship or you might get left
That's right.
off. One of those situations. So absolutely. So the first Mountain West game in the Fargo Dome was going to be against the last team you coached with in Wyoming. What do you think that atmosphere is going to be like? And with the Cowboys being one of the closer teams to you guys geographically, do you think that some kind of rivalry forming there would make sense?
Well, it would make a little bit of sense just with the Craig Bowl connection, the connection between the two programs. Aaron Bowl, Jay Salville, and myself, work together. I mean, I think that's kind of a natural thing. And I also would add, culturally and how we want to both get things done. The work in the off season, the work in the weight room, the blue collar type of work ethic that both programs have. I think that's going to be a natural thing that could occur. Specifically the Dome, I'm most focused on Jacksonville State, but that's homecoming. That's always a well-attended game for us. And, it's interesting that, Craig Bowl went in the Hall of Fame last year for NDSU. It would have really been something if this was his year that he was going in. Because I think he's got to root for his son a little bit more than he's going to recruit for the Bison. But that's about the only thing I can think of that hasn't been perfect with the transition.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Poor Craig Bowl, man. Kind of left in the middle here.
Yes. Yep.
First player-specific question. Jackson Williams and Reese Cassell are the two top returning pass catchers for you, and they're both projected to take another big step in their development. How have they looked through spring camp, and who else should Bison fans be looking at to break out as receivers?
Yeah, well, Jackson Williams is a good place to start because he's a well-known commodity as far as being a returner and kind of being a flashy playmaker from time to time.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to need to be the consistent guy that Nathan can rely on, to get himself started, to get a rhythm established. But then Reese Kessel, it seems like nowadays, if you're talking about systems like ours, every great quarterback or a guy that's functioning at a high level, seems to have that safety net, over the middle of the ball, a bigger target, downfield. But Mekhi Collins is, when he's healthy, he's a real formidable threat. He hasn't had a ton of action. It's primarily because we've been better at receiver over the last 2-3 years than we were previously, and we've had some success there. But I look for him to have kind of a breakout type year, individually, and then the rest of the group, a transfer or two is going to have to make a difference. I think Patterson JP has really positioned himself to potentially be the lead candidate for that. But Jordan McCants has had a nice summer, falling in line, learning the culture. All those kind of things. And then, we got a big kid in Conklin, and there's some other Isaiah St. Romain. I mean, it's kind of the NDSU program. is about development and those guys capitalizing when they get their opportunities. It's going to be their first chance.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see how that thing shakes out.
Absolutely. So your staff has been much better at keeping elite talent from transferring compared to the rest of the FCS and Group of Six. Is that mainly a product of North Dakota State's culture? And do you expect the program's ability to retain stars will become even better now that you've jumped to the Mountain West?
That's a good question. I think every year is a little different. I think each individual is a little bit different. We're going to try to keep academics at the forefront in recruiting. It seems to me in our general area location in the country, upper Midwest, there's a lot of parents and there's a lot of supporting cast of these recruits that really value education. And therefore, like my perspective on it is if we can get kids to the finish line graduation wise, and if they were to choose, okay, I can support that. It's when guys are pushing aside their academics. So I think we do have some guys that value academics. That's one. Two, there is a strong brotherhood within our locker room, and there's a commitment level to each other. And the fact that we're recruiting a lot of high school guys really helps with that.
For sure.
Every class kind of learns and grows together. And then I think the community, we've done a good job with our NIL, but more importantly, of embracing the kids and making them feel like they belong, and our players wanting to give back to the community. So all that stuff is what led to kind of my decision to stay at NDSU too, which it all worked out perfectly because we're now in the Mountain West Conference and all that. But it scares me, just that direction or where it could go. I most certainly got into coaching because I love developing people into being the best version of themselves, and that's hard if you only around a guy for a year or two.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely get that. It's a weird blending of what college sports has always been, and then like the money bleeding into it, and there's like still the logic hand of it of like, hey, if you're gonna give a kid $5 million,
Yeah.
that's gonna be life changing for him. But
Yes.
still, it's a very difficult spot to be as
Yeah.
someone that gets into the sport is for just to like
Oh, yeah.
develop young men.
No doubt. And I think as time travels, we're going to find out more and more too. Though we'll get more information. We'll get maybe some information from guys that left that, hey, their best relationships are still back here at North Dakota State. Relationships too. Money is money, but relationships and people. Anybody that knows anything about anything knows there's a value to relationships, and the people you get to work with and the people you get to train with matters too.
Absolutely. So I do have to ask about DJ Scott. He's my personal pick for offensive breakout player of the year, and after what he was able to do in his first season in Fargo, it definitely looks like he's going to be the next guy in line after Barika Capinu to kind of be that lead back. How electric has he been through spring camp?
Well, that's a really good question, and the more I think about it, I guess I haven't given DJ much thought because he's just such a consistent worker, consistent output. But quite frankly, his numbers last year all came off of short-term training in our program. He's a much better athlete today, and much more ready to handle the workload conditioning-wise than he was a year ago. I do like the fact that there's competition at that spot, though. I think Miles Mitchell is going to contend, and we got to kind of find out, okay, who is the thoroughbred, and then who are going to be the supporting cast. And then, Neo Pune's been a great addition, too. He's been working really hard. So I like that there's competition there, but DJ most certainly is a better athlete today than he was when he arrived last year.
Absolutely. All right, and then last question. Last but not least, your linebacker room is led by stalwart Donovan Llewellyn, which I have to say, it's kind of a crime that he wasn't on the preseason All Mountain West team. Like, I know it doesn't really mean anything, but it's kind of insane that he was left off of the list. How has he been as a leader? How has he grown as a leader coming into this season as kind of more of an entrenched starter? And who else in that linebacker room are you looking towards?
He's a really interesting guy because he's so well. His parents are unbelievable, and a little bit of there's some military stuff there in his past, and dad's really successful, and so he's always been a mature guy. But the job that him and Keenan and Darius are doing leading defensively, we got leaders at all three levels, has just been phenomenal, and so really excited about that. I really think Gavin Sell, is ready to capitalize on the opportunities he gets. And then Mike linebacker, and just seeing how it shakes out personnel, week to week, series to series. You got Peter Haugo is a phenomenal athlete. Ray James is a guy that nobody knows about because he's been not healthy, but he's a kid that's about Donovan's size and he's got longer arms. And so Keith Williams, I'm curious to see how that shakes out, but I like the amount of bodies that we have there, including Alex Elliott as well.
Absolutely. All right, that's all I got, Coach.
Thank you. Appreciate
so much
it.
for your time.
You bet.
Great to meet you.